Live from Acme Labs, this is Derailed Trains of Thought. Wow, Tim, this place is great.
Well, if you say so. It's kind of dark, and we're in an empty laboratory, and there's no one around.
I know, but I'm sure we can find some sort of explosives or something here.
Okay. I'm not sure we should be excited about that, but...
Well, we don't always get to go to a place where we might be able to blow things up.
Yeah. I think it happens more often than you think.
Well, that's probably true.
Just depends on how pyrotechnic you're feeling.
True. It just seems like it'd be easy to find like a rocket or something around here.
Yeah. I mean, I'm curious why the podcast dropped this off here when it seems like everyone is gone for the day. I mean, there's nobody here except for those lab mice in the cage over there.
Yeah,
they seem content, or at least one of them.
Yeah, they seem like they're doing okay.
At least one of them seems quite content.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the other one is doing.
No, they look kind of strange, but they are lab mice, so.
Yeah, that's true.
So, Tim, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
Yes, but I forgot all my cheese.
Oh, okay. Anyways, Tim, how's life?
Life is doing pretty well. I'm ready to do episode 139 of our premiere podcast on storytelling.
For the creator and the consumer?
Yes, for the creator and the consumer.
And I'm Nick Hayden.
And I'm Timothy Deal.
All right.
Very, very smooth there, Nick.
Seems like we should have that under control after 139 episodes, but...
You never know.
You never know. Though it's repetitious. Anyways, I won't go there yet. Anyways, Tim, I guess we will go... Get on in. Go get on in. Okay.
Go get on in.
We'll go ahead and get started with Story School. Well, today is another topic it's not been on the list for as long, but it's been there as one like, this would be fun, very traditional Derailed Trains topic.
Yes, for us, traditional, in the sense that I'm not sure who else would talk about this, but...
So I guess in a nutshell, we're going to talk about selective repetition. And so, Tim, explain kind of your initial thought, because I think this was originally your idea.
I think I originally even titled it The Value of Selective Repetition. And I think I was inspired by this by cartoons, actually. Mm-hmm. Cartoons have a great habit of taking a familiar formula and just doing it over and over again, and it's still fun each time. More modern cartoons will do this in a very like kind of meta way, kind of winking at the audience some. I mean, even old Looney Tunes would do this to an extent. You have so many Bugs Bunny cartoons and they start spoofing a Bugs Bunny cartoon. Yeah. Like there's an episode where Bugs Bunny is talking about his Hollywood career and he's doing routines with Elmer Fudd as if they were like a comedy duo sort of thing. Yeah. So it's very kind of self-referential. Nowadays, a classic example of this is Phineas and Ferb.
Phineas and Ferb is amazing at this.
Yes, they have their routine, they have their catchphrases. Phineas and Ferb wants to make the most of every day, so they're going to figure out, okay, what's the thing we're going to do today?
I know what we're going to do today,
is what he would finally say. Ferb is the quiet guy, but he always has at least one funny line per episode.
Candace always is just trying to bust her brothers. I mean,
trying to get them caught. They're not doing anything wrong. Just probably not things that some of their parents would be quite surprised to find out they've been doing.
The dad doesn't care, actually. The dad's seen it several times.
Yeah, that's true.
They're like, very good. Good job, guys.
Yeah. The mom would be the one who'd be quite surprised at some of the giant contraptions that have been built in her backyard.
But the amazing thing about that show is that it repeats like things all the time.
Yeah.
And it does it for lots of episodes, but it never feels old. It becomes joyful in some ways, the repetition. It's one of the shows that uses it best, I think, that I've seen. Yeah,
they lean into it and like, okay, here's our formula. How many ways can we stretch and bend? I mean, the B plot, of course, is Perry the Platypus foiling Dr. Doofenshmirtz. Dr. Heinz Doofenshmirtz.
Which he always has some sort of absurd backstory and a ridiculous innator and...
some way to take over the entire tri-state area. Or at least gets revenge on those who irritate me. Because it could be either one.
So I guess what works so well in that show, it seems like, is you have the familiarity of the, kind of what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. But it's so surprising because it's so creative, I guess. Like, it really lets them be creative because they don't have to do anything because they're playing the boxes, I guess, in some ways.
They have sort of their guidelines, like this is how our world works, and then they get to explore that in lots of ways. So one of the things that happens all the time is that Phineas and Ferb make these crazy contraptions, and then somehow they disappear before Candace has a chance to show them to her mom. So there's one episode where they literally like, okay, how does this keep happening? And Candace, and they're all like, okay, we're gonna sit here and just watch our big, like they make some amusement park attraction in their backyard, some sort of ride thing. And they like, okay, we're just going to watch this thing, make sure nothing happens. And they have a whole song about watching and waiting. Yep. They're like, how could we do a song about waiting around for something to maybe happen? And somehow they do it.
And sometimes they'll do this thing, but they'll move to different locations, like they'll be visiting their grandparents and things will happen. It'll be some sort of festival, but it's still the same, but it's different. It's a very interesting, like almost Mad Lib style. There's an episode. Insert adjective here.
Yeah. There's an episode where Candace and Doofenshmirtz's daughter, Vanessa, somehow their clothes get switched at a dry cleanings. and along with that, I think also like the blueprints for Phineas and Ferb's creation and Doofenshmirtz's thing get swapped. And they're like using each other's lines and trying to like, they're playing with their own cliches,
the roles,
roles, yes, all over the place, and they just have a lot of fun. And that's one of the neat things about, I think, having this pattern to just play with, the riff on. I mean, this is what people do in jazz all the time.
Yeah,
you have this chorus, you have this musical idea, and then you kind of stretch it and play with it as many different ways as possible.
And I guess, often we talk about repetition, we usually talk about it in a bad way. We usually talk about like, why do we keep repeating ourselves?
Cliches,
stereotypes,
reruns,
trite plots. But it's interesting, if you bring the right amount of creativity to it, it actually makes things better. We've had discussions, and this is tangentially related, about, comic books and how do you keep making it new. Well, at its best, you do the Phineas and Ferb thing, where you play with the thing that people love, but you keep exploring new aspects of it. And it takes a certain amount of thinking outside the box to stay within the box well.
Yeah. Yeah, very true. Like, how do you do new things and yet also make it feel like, yes, this feels like part of the show? Even Phineas and Ferb, by the end of the 4th season, they're definitely so far out of the box. Sometimes it feels like they're doing pilots for whatever they're going to do next. I don't know if you wound up watching the show that far.
I have not, no, unfortunately.
Yeah, but there's a couple episodes where, Dr. Doofenshmirtz and Perry really take over the proceedings, and Phineas and Ferb are really just kind of a backdrop, because there's a lot of built-in conflict between Doofenshmirtz and Perry. They have an interesting relationship.
And there's really not real conflict with the Phineas and Ferb story, but that's another interesting twist.
I mean, it's an interesting way they have that show set up. But yeah, the later they get into 4th season, you can kind of see at some point they start like maybe running out of steam or low on ideas. And I think this does happen sometimes when creators have been working on a certain project for a long period of time. I remember toward the end of the Spee-mail era, I think even Strong Bad spoofs how to do a Spee-mail. It talks about like having just the waggle head and snarky commentary and all this kind of stuff. When the creators start spoofing their own material to a certain extent, the expiration date might be coming.
Yeah, because again, if you're going to do good repetition, at some point, you need a fresh take, you need a break, you need maybe the repetitions run out and you might as well just cut it short. And again, that's a whole different issue about when you should cut things short. But there are plenty of things that I'm sure we can talk about where the repetitions start off good and then it...
Yeah, and I say that about Phineas and Ferb, but like I hear they just announced a few weeks ago that they're going to do a new season of it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I did not...
So it's been a couple of years. So the creators have been doing other things, and it's been super popular. I follow Dan Povenmire, one of the creators on YouTube, and he posts videos from his TikTok because I'm not going to touch the TikTok with 10-foot pole, but I will happily see what he's doing. And I know that like there's been a number of different like musical. Some viral videos using Phineas and Ferb stuff. So like it's definitely still clearly in the public consciousness for a certain age group. They're like, let's bring it back. And he seems fresh enough that he's happy to do so.
It was interesting because the show that after Phineas and Ferb was
Milo Murphy's
Milo Murphy, which was interesting because it basically completely broke, like they didn't keep repetition. Like it had a shtick, but it went all over the place, which was kind of fun because I'm sure they want to do something different after.
Yeah.
But
as much as it is fun to kind of paint within, riff on your own material, there is something also, another thing I want to talk about as a benefit of this selective repetition, just the familiar. Kids like routine, especially young kids.
Yes.
From what I understand. I don't have
No,
kids,
that's completely, no, when, it just reminds me both when I was growing up and with my own kids, they hit a age when they just want to watch the same movie, same TV show over and over and over again because they like it. They want to see it. I think adults as they get older always want the new thing because we get easily
bored,
jaded or whatever. We don't have the same sense of, this is great as is. But then again, that's not completely true because most people have some sort of piece of music or book or movie that they'll plug in at any time.
Yeah, their comfort food, their comfort movie. Oh, what are we gonna watch today? I guess we'll watch The Office again.
Yeah.
It's a habit for some people.
You mean Castle Cagliostro? Show? That's Mafio's one. He's like, let's just watch it again. And not unfortunately, but if it's ever on, I have to sit down and watch it. Like it's impossible not to watch that movie.
I can see that's the one that hooks you.
Yeah.
I mean, even with my niece, she has this very elaborate bedtime routine that she has to go through every night. I'm like, well, okay, when I have kids, I'm going to have to be very careful about what I'm going to wind up reading and doing forever.
And different kids have more or less of that elaborate bedtime, but most of them have some sort of routine. And this happens even for, to say, teenagers when teaching in middle school, is that not the bedtime routine necessarily, but well, maybe. I mean, we still have some, but the idea that we often think that what's good is to break structures, do things completely new, but most people want structure. Most people want the regularity.
Yeah.
Like if we have a day at school where structure is broken for some reason to our delay, or there's some gathering of everyone for some special event in the middle, the whole day the kids are crazy just because that regularity is something comforting and regular and good, and there's a certainty about it because we don't like uncertainty.
Sure.
And I think in both life and in fiction, there's a certain amount of pleasure and goodness to be had in that sort of the familiar beats, the familiar whatever it might be.
Yeah. I think another area you could see this potentially is in poetry. I mean, obviously poetry will keep the same rhythm, so there's a bit of repetition, there's a beat that kind of goes along with it. But then also sometimes poems will just simply repeat the same lines, like The Highwaymen, that thrives on repetition and like this kind of...
There's a fancy poetic form called, I believe this is a pantoum or sestina. I got mixed up. They probably both have like very elaborate repetition of lines thing. That
okay.
I think it's sestina. It has 6 lines, and then like each of the lines get repeated in different stanzas in different orders, and you have to really plan it. Otherwise, the thing makes no sense.
Okay.
It's very complicated, but it's all built around this repetition of lines and ideas and words and rhymes. And
interesting.
Yeah.
And obviously in music, you've got your verse, chorus, chorus. And a lot of times it's the chorus that are people's favorite parts because it's the where it gets punchy and where it's, it's what you're familiar with.
Well, it's very interesting when you teach poetry, when you ask like early middle school, what's poetry? Like, well, it needs rhyme. And they're so used to that rhythm, that rhyme, that defines it, that like I know that. And then you start to introduce them to free verse. They're like, there's no rhyme here. And free verse has its own benefits and its own structure, but it's new to me. They're used to that repetition of sounds and stuff. It's just nice.
It feels
green eggs and ham.
Yeah,
it's just this repetition of I do not like them salmon and ham.
So yeah, those are some of the initial things that when I was thinking about this repetition things, like, okay, where is it useful? I think you can look at some of these same ideas and see, okay, well, where do you choose what's selective in your repetition? Because like you said, at some point it can start to wear kind of thin. And you can have other types of shows besides just cartoons that have this comfortable ground, sitcoms have this comfortable ground, but then other shows. But when you get to a place where you can like kind of change it, rewrite what the show is, and then kind of go in a new direction, kind of have your new status quo.
Yeah.
That's something very interesting too.
It is.
I'm thinking of Alias.
Okay, yes.
Which I remember having kind of like the show first season, and then the first half of the second season, the show is kind of about this one thing. And then it gets flipped on its head midway through the second season, and suddenly the show is about something else. I mean, the same people, a lot of the same principles in play, but like who the main character is a spy for or where she's being planted and her circumstances completely change.
I mean, I feel like that from my memory, Person of Interest is kind of like that.
Yeah,
Like,
that's true.
You have a very set up thing, and then they'll add a little wrinkle, and suddenly like the show's kind of the same, but it's kind of different.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll do that about every season, and it just keeps moving. But it never. What's interesting is, and I just thought of this. What you need to make sure is part of the repetition is the kind of the core DNA of what makes the show good.
Sure.
Like in comedy things or cartoons, sometimes the type of shenanigans or the type of interactions.
Mm-hmm.
In a more dramatic thing, it might just be that theme that keeps coming back, or that some of the tensions between certain characters.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what's bad is that if you repeat things that are more on the upper layer of stuff, more of the like the exact, if it's a conflict between two people. You always like that conflict. That's what makes it fun. But if they start saying the same types of things over and over again, like, get over it.
Yeah.
It's got to be like central repetition, not like external repetition. I don't know.
Or not a very specific, like you said, if they're saying the exact same things.
Unless it's for, because Fitness Verbal.
Catchphrases are a different matter.
Yeah.
Catchphrases are fun. And then also you can do various spins on catchphrases. Oh, there you are, Perry.
Yeah.
Is one people say, and then see, okay, who's going to say, where's Perry?
Where's Perry? But it moves around. And they know. And again, I think comedy selective repetition is different than dramatic selective repetition.
Yeah. The expectations are just different. I mean, your expectations for a sitcom like, say, Home Improvement are going to be very different from your expectations for something that has more dramatic beats in it, like Alias.
Or I remember X-Files had a certain amount of things that would always, there'd be some weird thing in some little town, and then Scully would always have a scientific explanation, Mulder would have some other one, and then at the end, usually somehow the government got you couldn't prove anything for certain. So there were these beats, and at its best, it works great like that. Sometimes it would be like, it's that again. And it just depended on how well you could
pull it off.
You could make it feel fresh or new or natural. I think with drama, natural counts a lot. Like, does it feel like this is naturally playing out again, or is it shoehorned in?
Yeah.
With comedy, doesn't matter. Shoehorning in is kind of the funny part.
When your expectations are just like, oh, there's that again.
Yep.
But yeah, and another show that strikes me that has some of this like similarities, semi-episodic, but also kind of has an ongoing story thing, Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Doctor Who has the Doctor and his companion. They're going to wind up in a strange location, either some historic time period on Earth.
Usually about a second, third episode of the season is the historic period on Earth.
Yeah, usually. And then every season you have at least a couple that are like on an alien planet, often in like a contained space, like at a spaceship or a station or a moon base or something.
There's always a moon base or some sort of base that's like just a warehouse, but not.
Yeah, so for cost purposes, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So they're not actually like on some weird alien planet.
Yeah, exactly.
Although I don't know, I haven't watched the new stuff yet. I wonder if they're looking at the stuff that Star Wars is doing and think,
Yeah, nowadays you have so much more potential.
Yeah, so maybe. But Doctor Who will have an ongoing story about Bad Wolf or something like that. Yeah. But it's a lot of these like little episodic little beats. But yeah, we have different expectations now, I think, I think it used to be expectation was it's going to be the same thing.
It's going to be the same thing.
It's going to be episodic every time. And I guess in part, one reason why that worked, well, a couple things. One, I feel like you had shorter seasons, although I could be wrong about that.
How long are you talking about? I mean, because it was always like...
Well, I guess I'm thinking of like 60s, 70s.
Oh, I don't know about those. I know like by the 80s, you're having 22 episode, 24 episode seasons.
Well, true. But I mean, I guess, again, it depends on the type of show. So some of those like law procedural stuff, I mean, Law and Order was on like 20 some years. And so is NCIS.
Well, the procedurals are interesting because sometimes, artsy people are like, those ones that just play the same beats all the time. They don't, but those are the ones that people love watching because it's a mystery, but partly because there is a familiarity. You don't have to, if you watch a show like Lost, you got to be paying attention full scale all the time.
Yeah, that's true.
But if you're watching something that has some of those familiar beats, you can enjoy it without having to engage super deeply.
That's true.
So there's kind of a pleasure in that too if you kind of just using it
Yeah, that's true. You're just enjoying the mystery of the week or
the characters. You just like how the characters interact with each other.
Yeah. And honestly, some of those long running shows will have actor turnover too, because actors, I can't keep doing the same thing forever, and they'll go off and do something else. So you have new characters, so that makes the show a little bit fresher. So yeah, there's a lot of different forms this takes, I feel like.
So we wouldn't always do this, but what do you think as a creator? How do you like proactively think about this? I mean, is it something that just happens naturally? I mean, obviously, Phineas Ferb is a very distinct thing. I mean, episodic TV is different because you're setting it. You're basically, this is your pitch. Like, this is what an episode looks like.
Yeah, I expect a lot of the shows that are made for kids will have their like, okay, we're aiming for this to be a catchphrase. I mean, sometimes I think they're deliberate about that stuff. Sometimes it just happens.
Yeah.
I mean, Homestar Runner is a website that's made up of lots of cartoons of just random like things that will throw out crazy ideas. We'll see what sticks. Trogdor the Burninator. Oh wow, he's still around.
Yeah, 20 years or something, isn't it?
Something like
I think
that.
it was just celebrated the last month or something. 20 years of Trogdor.
Yeah.
No, and that show just kind of, it would sense what people are liking and just would roll it back in weird ways. It was just very self-aware of
itself.
Yeah, but because like even in books you have like a lot of the series people read, especially, or like, back in my day, Hardy Boys or Boxcar Joe. There's certain beats. I've never read all the Tarzans because there's like 20 of them.
Yeah.
But my guess is those are probably, after a while, a little repetitious.
I mean, I guess that's the thing. The things that get repeated, like we said, are probably the things that we figure out work. The creators have figured out, oh, the audience responds to this. This works. Let's reuse it or explore it more. But I think a great key for that is to do it selectively, as we've been talking. Like, for example, in Peanuts, Charles Schultz recognized that the thing with Lucy pulling the football away and Charlie Brown falling was a hallmark of the strip, but he only did that once per year. It was kind of an annual tradition.
Really?
Sometime during the fall, whenever it became kind of identified the strip. But it only happened once a year because, I mean, it's a very simple gag. You don't need it more than that.
So I guess and this is where it takes a lot of wisdom and thought, is to figure out how often I'm going to repeat, not to overplay your repetition, even though it might be vital to your show.
Yeah.
Or finding enough new ways to play it differently. I was thinking when I was thinking about this topic, it's a small example, but in my series, Stuart and Fred, there are so many times there's some sort of council meeting with the elders of this town. I constantly, every time it happened, like, I don't want this to be like the same thing every time. So I always try to like new character or interruption or change it up, or someone throws a fit, or, it's always these old men talking about some sort of ridiculous thing they have to decide, but hopefully always making that
a little different.
Because otherwise I'm like, it feels like I'm just writing the same scene all the time.
Yeah, I can see that
it wasn't purposeful.
As a valid choice, yeah.
It wasn't purposeful, but it's like, I guess also being aware of the things that are repeating and figuring out, first off, maybe they shouldn't be. Maybe it's just bad writing. But also, okay, it's repeating. How do you make the repetition, it's like a loop. You want to make it a little different. You want to make it fresh somehow, even though it's, and I guess, how do you keep it fresh? How do you keep it?
Yeah. I do think that self-awareness is helpful. Not in the sense that you have to constantly be winking at your audience.
No.
But if you're aware of the repetition and doing it purposefully and not just, well, we got to keep, I think I've used the romantic tension example before. Sometimes you keep romantic tension going too long, people get tired of it. Or it's like, this again, will they ever progress their lives or anything? You got to be constantly kind of aware of putting yourself in the audience's perspective of, am I overdoing this aspect of it, or is it still bringing something new?
Oh, that's a really interesting, because bad repetition where it's not progressing. So really the problem is this. If you set up a repetition where the audience wants resolution, that's not going to work. I mean, if I watched Pinky and the Brain and I expected them to actually take over the world someday, I would be really annoyed watching Pinky and the Brain. But obviously that's your whole stick.
Yeah.
But in a romantic tension situation, everyone knows at some point they've got to get together. So you can't repeat that too long, because then it's just frustrating.
Yeah, it's interesting. Another example of this I just thought of was Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? Well, I guess Where on Earth is Carmen Sandiego was the cartoon. Well, still probably the longest running narrative story of Carmen Sandiego. The Netflix had a Carmen Sandiego show recently, which was, I thought, enjoyable. But I'm thinking of the older one where the main characters are the anyone who's ever played the game. That kind of frustration is like, oh, I'm gonna get her someday, and, which is, it's almost like the good guys are in the position of Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah.
Like, you don't ever want to see Wile E. Coyote catch the Roadrunner, but at the same time, you want to always like trying to catch Carmen Sandiego is like your holy grail. You're constantly chasing after, and always, I'll get her one of these days, shaking your fist in the sky and. I don't know. It's just
that's interesting.
It's an interesting thing to kind of flip the formula on its head in some ways.
So yeah, I guess to reiterate from my own self, it's just interesting then that what you need to repeat is something that brings the audience joy and not something that brings the audience frustration.
Yes. Yeah.
Because if you do too much of the frustration, I mean, you and I have talked sometimes that The Office, the awkward humor is too much. Mm-hmm. But the awkward humor for some people is the point of watching, and that repetition of Michael Scott being a goon is what keeps people watching or turns you off from it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, season 1 is way too painful. It's horrible. But after that, they toned it in a certain way where suddenly it was not quite as awkward for my sake. But yeah, I think just that figuring out what, if you constantly are frustrating the audience, at some point, it's not working.
Yeah.
Like if I really wanted Candace to bust Phineas and Ferb, after season 2, just throw it down like, I'm done.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and they played with those expectations a lot.
Yeah.
Like, I think there was an episode where she had a dream about about having busted them. I'm sure there are other examples where they played with that expectation. I mean, they did for the very end of the last season, they do this episode of all the kids as teenagers.
Yeah.
And that is less about that outstanding thing, but more like, is Phineas ever going to figure out that Isabella likes him?
Yeah.
And apparently he never does until they're like teens, but at least you finally get that resolution.
Yep.
I got to mention another inspiration for this topic was actually Miraculous Ladybug.
Okay.
Which is a very silly cartoon from France. It's a CG cartoon. It's a pair of superhero teens, kind of preteens-ish. I think they're like 14. So I guess not preteen, but young.
Yeah.
So the one Marinette is Ladybug, the superhero, who she has a big crush on a boy from her class, Adrian. But Adrian is secretly the superhero Cat Noir. Cat Noir has a crush on Ladybug, but Ladybug is really annoyed by Cat Noir. So they each have an interest in each other and an alternate version of each other,
hilarious.
but neither one of them knows it. I understand. Apparently, this has taken a lot of inspiration, some similarities to Sailor Moon.
Okay.
Does similar things, but they go in different directions. Well, it is certainly a show where, like, for a while, playing with the romantic tension of each other's feelings. They're doing it through the whole show. But different seasons, they'll add on different aspects of the mythology of the superheroes. Mm-hmm. Like in the second season, I think is when they start giving more people they get their powers from these little magical items with little cute creatures in them. I mean, this is very elaborate lore for this whole thing, and each season builds upon it until I think at the end of 4, I think, where Ladybug made a big mistake and lost a lot of the trinkets that gives powers to people that the main bad guy got him. But it made her realize some mistakes, the way she'd been treating her partner, Cat Noir, and things like that. So it's a soap opera-y thing. Yeah. It's like the Alias thing where they kind of like reframe it each time.
Yeah. And the reframing helps you keep up, or not be frustrating.
Not be frustrated because, there certainly were seasons. My sisters were the ones who introduced me to the show. Yeah. And I think some of them they dropped out because there wasn't much progress in their romance department. And now my young Danielle and I, who was on here last time, we were like, they're finally going somewhere. This is like, there's really interesting things going on. This is probably the most girly show they've ever gotten me on. But like, I've become invested in them.
Nice.
This silly kids show. Because anyway, Serenity would love it.
She would. I think she's seen a little bit of it. Yeah. But not
I think they just recently put, the seasons were on Netflix. I think they recently put the first 4 on Disney Plus.
Okay.
So anyway.
Interesting.
So I think we've covered a lot of ground. So I think, again, the being self-aware, the knowing when to add new elements, knowing where your audience is at.
And being okay with repetition. Like, people like it. I mean, done well, people like it.
Yeah.
I think you can certainly write a story without repetition and be a great story, but there's a lot of benefit to this sort of, like music. It's the round. It's the theme and variation.
Yes, it becomes a part of the identity of your story.
Yes.
Whether that's a comic strip like Peanuts or a cartoon or a spy show or what have you. It's like, oh yeah, that's the show where they say this, where they do that, where they, it becomes very familiar that way. And, we like having fresh things, but we also like the familiar.
Yes. Well, that sounds good. I guess with that, we will move on to soundtrack. So, Tim, you have the first soundtrack this time.
I do. And we're going back to, well, it's a familiar source, a Mario game.
Most people know about that.
Most people know Mario.
He's usually trying to rescue somebody.
Yes. And there's a lot of different ways you could go with picking a song from a video game for this, because video game music, you hear it a lot, at least in the old stuff. You would hear it throughout the game and you hear it on a loop. Sometimes it'd be different areas where they'd be playing different songs, particularly like a platform or puzzle game. But usually if it's written well, you love it anyway.
Yes.
So I was really close to picking Tetris for that very reason.
Because no one gets sick of Tetris.
That's right. But then I realized, oh yeah, that's right. It's from a folk song, and that's kind of not proving my point. So then I discovered that somehow we have never featured a song from Super Mario Brothers 3 on our podcast.
So we've done a variety of other Mario games.
Yes, we have. So I figured we should rectify that, and so I've picked a remix called Battle Rocks. This is a really fun, funky song. It's remixed by Am I Evil, a remixer from the old days of Overclocked Remix. I hope you enjoy.
All right. Well, that was Mario.
That was very groovy stuff.
Yes, it was good stuff. All right. Next, we'll go to Once Upon a Scene. So, Tim, I thought we would replay last month's clip just to remind everyone what it was. So, if you can do that.
Sure thing.
Well, it's not like I'm enjoying it either, you know. Before you came into my life, I was capable of making all kinds of decisions. Now I can't. I'm addicted. I have to know what you think. What do you think?
George, I think you're the most selfish human being on the planet.
That's just silly. Have you met everyone on the planet?
Goodbye, George.
I don't have a shirt.
So this one apparently was pretty obvious to anyone who was not a guy.
Or at least we got several of our female listeners responded.
Yes. So you had we had an email from Katie
Hobbs.
And then right as I was posting the podcast, I played the clip for my wife. And she's like, oh yeah, that's 2 weeks notice.
And it is indeed 2 weeks notice.
And then my mom also was like, hey, I watched it. Well, do you know what it was? Yeah, it was 2 weeks notice, of course. So it was 2 weeks notice, everyone.
I haven't heard from my mom yet, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if she knew. I mean, she might have listened to it. She's in Florida as we record this, but she's quoted that scene herself before, so I have a feeling she'd recognize it.
I just had to ask because my mom said she was going to email us in, but then she forgot or something. But I'm like, I'll grandfather you in.
So good job, ladies.
Yes. But this month we have a new scene.
Indeed.
And I think it will be enjoyable. And so here it is.
Boats disappearing in Bermuda Triangle. Suspect mad. Proceed to area at once and investigate. This message will self-destruct.
So if you know where that is from.
Name the source.
The source, yes.
What story is that from? Send us an email at derailedtrains@gmail.com.
You can always leave a comment at derailedtrains.com. Or derailedtrainsofthought.com.
We got to get our own websites
I know.
straight. Or send us a DM on Facebook. That's how Katie likes to contact us.
Yep.
So see who can get first. I'm not sure, actually. Well,
Natasha's was unfair, so I think Katie's counts.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Because no one had even listened to it yet when Natasha got it.
Right.
So.
And Natasha doesn't even listen to our podcast anyway.
No, that's why I had to play it for her. Because I knew she wasn't going to listen to it. I'm like, I want to know if you know this. So
we could say whatever we want about Natasha, and
we do.
And your mom will report it to her.
And we say anything we want in the middle of the soundtrack about Zach, and he wouldn't know either. So, anyways.
Maybe.
Anyways, next we're going to go to It Came from the Intrawebs.
It came from the interwebs, where we try to feature unique things from the interwebs. Although I have to admit, Nick, I haven't found as many wild and wacky things these days as I used to.
And I don't find as many either because I don't spend much time poking around the internet as I used to.
That's kind of one of the problems with social media. But thankfully, there does seem to be at least one person who does. So I wanted to show you this YouTube channel called Daily Dose of Internet.
Oh, interesting.
And this guy tends to pulls from mostly videos from YouTube and TikTok, I think.
Okay.
But they're usually interesting things. So it's kind of like a curated list of here's some fun stuff. And it really makes me feel like going back to the old Wild West days of the internet. So anyway, I thought you'd enjoy this. This one is from a few weeks ago. It's titled Dropping a Camera to the Bottom of Antarctica, which he'll always label like that. It's the first thing in the videos he shows.
Oh, but there's a variety.
But there's a
compilation.
But anyway, yeah, let's give this a try.
Hello everyone, this is your Daily Dose of Internet. A scientist dropped a camera to see what was at the bottom of the ice in Antarctica.
It's going down and down like a hyperspace.
Yeah, this is fascinating because I guess he just drilled a circular hole through the ice.
Wow, it's moving.
And it's stunning to think of just about how much ice is actually in Antarctica. And yeah, this thing is like watching some weird drug trip or hyperspace travel.
Yeah, they could use that sound for a science fiction show.
Till it just there's a pile of snow on the bottom apparently. And then it cuts to a very calm picture of some people walking along a floating platform on ocean waves until the waves knock them down.
Very nice.
This cat hates taking medicine so much that she started putting her tongue at the roof of her mouth to block it.
Well, okay.
Because she didn't like getting medicine.
That's a very kitty thing to do. Whoa.
In case you didn't know, eyes are not solid in place. If you look closely, you can see how they move around like a bowl of jelly.
Okay, yeah, this is.
Yeah.
I always skip or not look at this.
Wow, it's kind of
stuff freaks me
eye
out,
stuff,
especially like a giant zoom in on an eye.
That was weird.
Dad, it's time to go. We gotta go eat dinner. Oh, you're walking the dog. Okay, cool.
Okay, sometimes I have to pause these things.
They're very quick.
Process what I just saw.
Was that like a urn?
Yeah, it was like an urn of human remains with a leash and a urn of pet remains, apparently.
That's disturbing.
That's
I
very
guess.
dark humor there.
That's very dark humor. Yes.
These YouTubers are twins, and they like to make people question their reality.
All right.
Hey, would you grab that drink?
Guy going up an escalator.
Oh, yep.
And then there's another.
Oh, and the twin says the same thing.
Hey, how are you, man? Good to see you guys.
And the guy's like, wait, what?
What is that red light above the new building that they're building?
So here's a guy sitting in, I don't know, dining room. It looks like he's on a second floor apartment or something.
I don't see
He's looking out the window.
like a helicopter in the distance or something?
No, let me turn the light off. I think it's too bright.
I don't see
Someone just jumped on the window, so a nice little jump scare there.
That's hilarious. Man, so how does this guy go around and find all this stuff?
I don't know.
This dog is trying to learn how ice works.
Poor dog,
Okay,
he like does
so
a
this
giant jump and then like slips.
He does this giant leap and like rolled over. He's now trying to dig in the ice. That's great.
This cat seems to have adopted this monkey.
There's a monkey hanging on the bottom of this cat, almost like he's in a symbiotic relationship.
Wow, that's crazy. The cat is just leave me alone.
About a month ago, an observatory discovered a strange spiral moving across the night sky.
Looks like a galaxy.
Wow.
An investigation from astronomers found that this is gas from a rocket that launched earlier in the day.
Interesting. It doesn't look like a galaxy. It was just floating around.
Uh-huh. So now we got a swim meets.
Oh.
There's a poor guy who's like getting ready to dive, and then rather than dive, he like kind of flips over the diving board.
I've been to enough swim meets. Like you get ready to go, and he went way too far. He just flipped straight over head first. That was great.
Listen to how these kids in this African tribe pronounce their names.
And what's your name, my man? Anpupu. And what about you? Wow. What's your name? Yeah?
That's fascinating. I mean, what I like about this is it's just all over the place. But it's all interesting. Like some of it's funny, but some of it's all interesting.
Like little odd corners of the world, like this. Yeah, there's a place where
Does he do this every day?
Language. Not every day. He does it like 2 or 3 times a week.
Okay, interesting. Huh.
So here's a guy, he's eating hard-boiled eggs in his classroom, and all the girls nearby him have their nose closed.
These kids aren't afraid of bees anymore because their mom is a beekeeper.
Are you guys used to being in a swarm of bees?
Not really, but
You don't even seem to be fazed by it.
No. I've been here so much.
Yeah, this mom's got a whole bunch of bees. I guess she's a beekeeper. She got a bunch of bees in the back of their truck. And the kids are like, yeah, whatever.
And they're just like, hey, whatever. There's like a million bees here. My mom's so boring.
This is called bobbin lacing, and it's a traditional way of making lace.
Whoa, so there's all these pins and all these wooden, almost dowels.
Things that the strings are wrapped around, and some old lady looks like she's just kind of fiddling with them, but I'm sure she's like very purposely like arranging them.
Yeah, but
somehow.
it looked like that's you know what, and it's true. Just showing all those unique parts about the world. See, if the internet should do anything, it should make us see the world as bigger than it is, not smaller.
Yeah, for sure.
I found a really cool artist that thought of a really smart method.
Okay. So there's this picture of a boy holding a slingshot ready to shoot it in a frame with a glass, and then this guy puts a nail, just breaks the glass, so it looks like that the guy shooting the slingshot broke the pane of the picture. It's pretty cool.
And here's a similar one with a guy with a baseball bat that's kind of in mid swing. I think he's going to put the nail right on the tip of the bat, so it looks like he's breaking the frame with a cool idea.
That is the end of this video. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Later.
Ends with some
taekwondo,
someone doing some
martial arts
kicks and jumps and stuff. So fun stuff. So yeah, it's a neat little channel.
So the daily dose of the internet.
Yes. So
when you first said daily dose of internet, I was worried. It did not sound as entertaining as it actually was.
No, he does a good job curating stuff. And
is it generally clean?
I think so. I mean, you'll wind up enjoying some episodes more than others. Like every now and then you have look, here's this. I remember this one where the police didn't find the joke funny. There's really just a guy being a smart aleck to a police officer, and it's like, that's
whatever.
That's not that interesting. Yeah, you'll get some varied, and he gets all these from different things, and I guess he'll ask permission from the channel to feature their video somewhere. But every now you'll probably see something somewhere like this one, the Car Crash Interrupts podcast. I think I saw this elsewhere.
I think I saw it linked somewhere. Yeah, I haven't watched it, but
These guys were just finishing up filming their podcast, but were rudely interrupted.
It got so quiet in here. How did I?
Yeah, you see the
car just comes slamming into the window there.
Right behind him.
The amazing thing is that nobody was hurt.
I think we're fine. I think we got all the audio on there.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, I'll let people explore that on their own because I know videos is not super satisfying to listen to us watch videos on here, but
it gives you a flavor for it.
It gives you a flavor for it, and I felt like that's like a good representation of what we have tried to do with It Came From the Intrawebs, at least in the past.
Yeah, find something interesting, unique, different.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, fun stuff about, it's back when YouTube was a lot of America's Funniest Home Videos.
Yeah. That's true. Yep. Or like you ever seen the bear video about the bears eating this kayak and like this girl just like, go away, bear, go for like 5 minutes, just yelling at this bear to go away. It was actually pretty great.
I don't think I've seen that one. That's good. I guess more on topic for this episode and about selective repetition.
Yes.
You know, I feel like the whole thing with memes, at least the way the term first came around on the internet, was something that got passed around and it got added, things that added to.
Yes.
Now times people just use the term meme for like any kind of picture with like text on it.
Yeah, it's become a different meaning.
Yeah, kind of different meaning. But back when things were really going viral and that really meant something,
yeah.
It's because something was funny and people will come up with a lot of different variations of things to do with that. So I think kind of looking back on that, it'd be fun to do a little meme quiz.
Ooh, a meme quiz. All right.
And see how well you recognize this thing. So so this first one, this is I found a quiz from Beano.com.
Oh, right. Beano's the greatest.
I never heard of it.
I don't know anything about Beano.
But we got a picture of a dog here. I think I've seen this dog before. He's a yellow dog. He's kind of looking at the camera sideways.
Very kind of surprised or something.
So who is this very handsome dog? Is it Dage, dog with 2 G's, Doggo, or Doge?
Is this I think this is Doge from Dogecoin, right?
Oh, let's see.
We'll tell me at the end.
We'll tell you at the end, I guess.
Okay. So this is a very famous one.
Yeah, we got that woman shouting in one picture.
Screaming, yep.
And then the question is, what is this woman shouting at? There should be a second picture.
Okay.
She's shouting at a waiter, John Cena, SpongeBob, or a cat.
I always see the cat.
Yeah, I think
when I see, if that's, I don't know if that's the original, but I always see the cat.
Okay, I think you're right, but we'll see in a minute. Okay,
I have not seen this one.
So here we've got a wrestler who's going Super Saiyan. Who is this? Is this The Rock, John Cena, Hulk Hogan, or Bumblebee Man?
I think that's John Cena. It's kind of hard with all the flames coming out of his head.
Okay.
Oh, it's this guy. I read a story about this guy.
So you've got a white-haired guy with a beard and a coffee cup and a laptop, and he's looking at the camera with kind of an awkward smile.
Awkward smile. Yeah, I read probably from my Pocket app, read an article about this guy, about how his picture became so famous.
Okay.
Yeah.
It says, complete this guy's name. Hide the pain blank. Is it Hide the Pain Hugo, Hide the Pain Joe, Hide the Pain Bernard, or Hide the Pain Harold?
Bernard. Let's try Bernard.
Okay, what's up with this cat? So we've got a cat here with a kind of a frowny face.
Yep.
Is it grumpy, it's moody, it's worried, or it's angry?
Oh, that's Grumpy Cat.
Come
on.
Yeah,
do you know they've made entire comic books about Grumpy Cat? I've read them. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it. Okay, so here we've got a picture of Fry from Futurama with his eyes narrowed. What caption does this meme normally have? Is it not sure if, can't tell if, it's probably, or it might not be?
See, this is going to show my lack of memeness, but okay, read me the first two again now.
Not if or can't tell if.
I'm going to say can't tell if. I think I may be wrong with that one.
Okay.
Oh, it's the SpongeBob duck walk thing.
He's making a weird face. So captions for this meme are normally written with the letters like this, with like a weird mix of uppercase and lowercase letters. True or false?
I'm going to say true. I've seen this meme, but see, I need my 8th graders to come help me. They would know all this. I have one student who's like, he knows all the memes.
There's a whole culture for this.
Yeah, and I see him, but I don't know the culture.
Okay, finally, we've got a series of pictures of brains. And the question is, which of these galaxy brains comes first? So there's one where there's like light beams coming out of the brain. There's one where the brain only takes a portion of the head. There's one where there's just like lights lighting
going
up
off
inside it. And then there's one where actually I don't even see the brain. I just see some celestial figure and controlling galaxies.
It seems like I have seen. Do we have the meme with the lady doing all the math? that one's a pretty common meme. Give me one the with like the Homer brain.
Okay, yeah, because I think these go in
or
sequentially.
I think it's that one, and then the light up, and then the coming off the brain, and then
I think you're probably right. Okay, so
6 out of 8, much score. All right, so which ones am I wrong then? Let's go.
Let's see. You got 6 out of 8.
So the dog is.
I think okay, that's correct. And if it
is
a cat,
the cat's wonderful.
That the woman is screaming at.
Is John Cena.
Is the pro wrestler, so good job. You misnamed the
Harold's my second choice.
The white-haired guy. His name is Hide the Pain Harold, not Bernard.
I guess Hyde and Harold will make sense.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
That is indeed Grumpy Cats.
Yep.
Oh, you got the Fry.
Oh, that's okay. That's one I thought I got wrong.
The one where his eyes are narrow, that's the not sure if, and it's usually like not sure if it's serious or a joke or that sort of thing. Yeah. I think you got the rest of them right. So yes, SpongeBob usually comes with weird uppercase, lowercase letters, and then the small brain is the first one, and then it goes.
Okay, so I keep my internet certification. I
guess so. I guess so. I feel like maybe I should give this a try now.
Yes, let's see how you do.
Since I put you up against, and I'll look up for here's a BuzzFeed one.
Okay.
So here we got is asking me who is this? There's a picture of a guy. It looks like a very awkward old school photo
with a nice sweater thing, sleeveless sweater,
braces. Is this good guy Greg? Is it Armageddon? Is it Bad Luck Brian or Star Wars Kid? I'm going to go with good guy Greg.
That is
I did not get
I knew it wasn't Star Wars Kid. Star Wars Kid is great.
Okay. All right. What's next here? This means background is usually blue and... Oh, I don't recognize this at all.
It's a penguin with lots of question marks.
Yeah. The top part is gray and the bottom part is blue.
But it's usually blue and something else.
Blue and orange, blue and red, blue and green, or blue and yellow. I don't know. I'll go with red because I don't know why not.
Oh, you were right.
I got it. Yay. Okay. Oh, we got Grumpy Cat here
You can't do a meme thing without Grumpy Cat.
Apparently. So the meme is, I had fun once. It was awful.
It was awful.
All right. And this meme, Kermit is drinking.
Oh, yeah.
I know this one is from a Lipton tea ad. And
they use that one all the time.
Yeah, and the phrase is, but that's none of my business. As Kermit's drinking. I wonder what Lipton thinks about that. Okay, so here we got a picture of Woody and Buzz where in the movie he's talking about going to eat schmoes, and Woody's like, it's s'mores, Buzz. But in the meme's case, it's usually, this meme's caption typically ends with the word forever, everywhere, nobody, or beyond.
I know this one.
I think it's everywhere.
I think it's everywhere, yep.
Yep. So in this case, Cheeto dust everywhere. All right, here we've got a picture of a wild-eyed looking girl looking into the camera. And it says, this meme started out as a YouTube video, a snap, a Skype call, or a Tumblr post.
I do not know.
I believe this one started off as a YouTube video.
Oh, nice.
Yes. She says, how do you like your eggs? I like mine fertilized.
Wow.
I think she had a name. I think it's like overly obsessed girlfriend.
Okay.
I think it's what
poor people get stuck with their face is just everywhere.
Well, she was a YouTuber for a while that she made a whole thing out of.
Okay.
But eventually she got done with it. We got
the brain meme again.
We got the brains. Which one goes last this time? This was a little different. This one doesn't have the galaxy one, but I think we'll say the light rays. Yes,
nice.
That's correct. Okay.
Who
is the small brain? Whom is the brain lighting up? Whomst has like even more light up, and then whomst has like light rays coming out. I don't think whomst is an actual word.
Whomst, there it is.
Is that what they're going with?
I have no idea. It's just what it made me think of.
Oh man. Okay. So we've got a cartoon fist, and the quiz question is, this fist belongs to. Okay, so this cartoon fist, it's
I know this one.
Brown. It's a brown fist with a yellow sweater and jeans. This belongs to Arthur. Yep. As an example, when you get home and somebody ate the food you thought you hid in the back of the fridge.
Arthur gets used for all kinds of him and Peppa Pig, at least in the circles I run through, weird memes.
Huh. Okay.
Like there was one that little scene that some of my students used one time. It was from him saying something like, "An orphan will be if you don't get moving," or something like that. Yeah.
All right. So here we got a picture from an anime of the guy like raising a hand out to a butterfly. It says, "Finish the meme. Is this alive? A pigeon? An insect? Stupid." I think I'm gonna say an insect. Oh no. Is this a pigeon? It's a butterfly.
Wait, what?
The way I've usually seen this done, well, I don't know. I think it's some sort of like to express naivete about something.
Okay.
They replace the butterfly with something else. All right, which Futurama character is not a meme?
Oh, interesting.
Another Futurama thing. We got Malfunctioning Eddie, Zoidberg, Fry, and Professor Farnsworth. I'm going to go with Malfunctioning Eddie here because I know Fry we just talked about.
Zoidberg.
I haven't seen this as much, but I feel like I haven't seen something. This picture of Professor Farnsworth, I know I've heard him say, "I don't want to be on this planet anymore." So I think it's the robot. I'm correct. So yeah.
Not sure if compliment or sarcasm.
That's the Fry with narrowed eyes look again. Okay, what day is it, my dudes? Says this weird little frog.
Whoa, yeah.
Is it Friday, Wednesday, Monday, or Sunday?
I don't even understand this question.
I don't know. It is Wednesday, my dudes. Okay, I've never seen this meme.
I don't know. Yeah, that's weird. That's a new one to me.
Yeah. Okay, which of the following SpongeBob scenes have not been memed? Okay, I've seen two of these. There's the duck walk before. I've seen SpongeBob sitting with his coffee mug at the table. I think I've seen him puffing his breath out of his. So I think it's this one where his skin has fallen off. He's a skeleton or something. Yes, that is not an actual meme. So okay, I got 9 out of 12 correct.
Not too bad. You also keep your
PhD in meme-ology, according to BuzzFeed.
Wow, that's worth a lot of money.
Yes, lucky me. All about that useless knowledge I have.
That's all the knowledge that matters nowadays, Tim.
Yeah, I mean, again, we see in play some of these things they get used in part because other people use it, and so there's like, aha, I'm going to jump on this bandwagon. But when a meme is done well, it's because people get a kick out of seeing the different variations on it.
Yeah, it's because it's like, oh, how are you going to apply this to a new situation? And sometimes they're really funny. Sometimes you're like, oh, that's great.
I think one of the long-lasting ones in the last few years was the easily distracted boyfriend.
Oh yeah, that one's been used a ton. That was
used
great.
Quite a lot. Yeah,
it's so applicable.
Yeah. One I got a bit tired of, I remember a year or two ago, was the one with Anakin and Padme, where they're like, you mean this, right? You mean that, right?
Yeah. Yep. On when they're just hanging out
in the field.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Sometimes they get run into the ground, but
used well, they are nice.
They become a buzz or a common vernacular for a while.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah,
that thing.
So anyway, I just thought since today was an Intrawebs episode, so
those are nice. You can't hardly talk about the interwebs without memes at this point.
Yes.
Maybe the next podcast we'll just do it all in memes.
All in meme speak.
Yeah.
I'm sure you could. Every now and then I'll go to knowyourmeme.com.
Okay.
Have you ever used that?
I have not.
That's a website where, like, if you're ever curious about the history of a meme, if it's particularly, at least once it gets a certain level well known, they'll like kind of do a search for where this thing first
came from
and appeared,
and then you can make an NTF of it and buy it for $1 million.
They'll show like different variations of it. So if you're ever curious about where did this weird thing come from, check out knowyourmeme.com. It's a very valuable historical resource.
It's like the everyman political cartoon.
The what?
No, I mean memes are like the average Joe's political cartoon. They just add words onto a picture and there you go, you're done.
Yeah, pretty much.
They're not political necessarily. But.
Yeah. I guess the unique thing is that when you can come up with a new situation for something that's been around for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think my brain thinks in that way.
Mine does not as well. No. But I don't use some people can like comment in memes. They're just like
they have 100 at their fingertips. And
they just like just meme. Yeah, and I am not. No, I don't know if I've ever responded with a meme.
I have. Well, I mean, I know on iPhones they have there's something where you can search for a GIF. of some sort. And it's, every now and then I'll be like, okay, what's a good reaction to what some ridiculous thing my sibling or my brother-in-law just said?
I just never used it. I think they're fun, but I just had never done it.
Yeah. I guess I'm a little bit more visually inclined than you are.
That is also true. Yeah, I'm like, I'll just write a story about that. No. Well, with that, we will
bow out.
Yeah, do we want to stay here or not? I'm not actually sure. I don't know. What do you...
I don't know. I mean, it seems, like I said, it's a little quiet around here. Where'd those two mice go?
I don't know. They'll do something.
I feel like I'm hearing some soldering going on in the other room over there.
Interesting.
So maybe there is someone. We'll see. Maybe we'll see if they're making some cool new invention we can try out.
Yeah, and I guess we'll have to figure out what we want to do tomorrow.
That's a good point.
Same thing as always.
Same thing as always. Try to make this podcast a reality.
Yeah, I guess so. Okay. Well, before we bow out here, though, I picked something kind of different. I guess that's not good for selective repetition, but my brain went to traditional puzzle games because the way a good puzzle game works is that they set up kind of your formula and they just keep kind of tweaking it a little bit at a time. So you have the same, it's usually a pretty basic thing, and they just keep tweaking it a little bit. Like, you gotta get out of the room and you have to bounce off the walls, and then suddenly you bounce off the walls, but there's spikes, and then bounce off the walls, but there's spikes and teleports, and
sure.
That sort of thing. And so I was kind of looking for that sort of thing, and
I'm going to interrupt you real quick because I got to mention. So I saw this video the other day about there's this game on the Nintendo eShop.
Yeah.
Where you stick your Joy-Con in a roll of toilet paper.
Okay.
And then you set it on like a flat piece of cardboard or something. And the game is on screen is that there's a guy who's out of toilet paper, and you have to roll your controller up and down, like kind of on these hills.
Yeah.
Like, I guess there's these shelves right next to his toilet.
Okay.
And you have to literally roll your toilet paper along the cardboard in just the right way to roll the controller so that the on-screen toilet paper will roll down the shelf and avoid spikes and death traps and all kinds of stuff.
Some sort of genius. Yeah.
So yeah, you were talking about puzzles and adding new things. Each stage they added some new elements to try to some obstacle or something to avoid.
Yeah, and really good the sort of traditional. I'm not talking like puzzle games like Myst, or just that it's just like a screen. You got to get someone out or in or connect the dots. They usually, the good ones ramp up just a little bit at a time, like I guess spikes in toilet paper.
Yeah.
But I remembered then that way back in the day, Overclock Remix released a free soundtrack for this puzzle game called Return All Robots. And it was remixed, a lot of the original music by Zircon, and they also had remixes on the soundtrack. But anyways, very good soundtrack. So I just thought today we'd play the main theme of Return All Robots, which is pretty groovy. And I don't know, that was my choice. So there we go, by Zircon. It's not a remix, it's an original.
Cool.
Theme for this original video game, which I believe you can download for free nowadays, because it's been a number of years since they came out with it.
Nice.
So
sounds unique.
Yes.
Also, Nick, before we bow out, I do think we should mention that one of our podcasts, The Weekly Hijack, is back up and running.
It is. The Weekly Hijack is up and running again. We've taken over the train and we're rolling down the tracks.
Yes, after a year-long hiatus, we are returning with a new show.
An old show.
Well, yes, a new show for The Weekly Hijack.
Yes.
One that we have not seen. At least I had not seen this show at all.
And I've seen like two or three episodes maybe years ago.
But The Prisoner, the classic British TV show, The Prisoner, kind of a science fiction mystery, dystopia.
I don't know. Yeah.
We don't know. It's hard to describe what it is.
And we just barely started, so we don't have a lot of understanding of it yet either.
Yeah, for sure. This will probably have wound up shadow dropping. We didn't really announce it before. We just started putting it out there. So I think there should be a few episodes out by the time this episode is premiered. So go check it out on The Weekly Hijack. And if you have never seen The Prisoner for yourself, it's free on YouTube and other places. So by all means, watch it alongside us. You watch the episode first and then listen to us talk about it and try to figure out what in the world is going on.
And just from our limited experience, it's going to be an interesting ride, I think.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm excited.
So yeah, it's new. It's different. And we've been thinking for a long time about watching it. And so we finally just said, hey, we got a little bit of time. Let's do this thing.
Yes. And
let's finally watch this.
Except for The Weekly Hijack.
Yes.
And it's, like I said, it's been a long time since we finished Lost, and hope you're ready to try a new TV show with us. You can find that on, as well as the rest of our podcasts, at derailedtrainsofthought.com.
And also just all your podcatchers. And if you like our shows, just tell your friends, tell your families, tell your pets, tell your parole officer.
Those all sound like very rational things to do.
Anyways, I guess with that, we will be out here. So this has been Nick.
And this is Tim.
Adios.
Bye-bye.